amazing, amazing week we've had this last week. Oh my gosh, there's so much that's happening. I can't cover it all. The biggest challenge I've had is to what to cover and what not to cover. Stay tuned and we're going to cover the events of the past week. Greetings and salutations. I'm Gil, and this is Strategic Prepper, and this is our weekly news commentary where we find news related to the prepping and self-reliance community, and we offer our commentary and analysis on that. So let's get to it. All right, like I said, crazy week. A lot's happened. Today is May 24th, and I've got a few stories I want to share with you. First, like last week, I want to start with basically a why we prep kind of story. And actually, I've got several. So I'm going to kind of go through them a little quick. First, as you know, I'm in South Louisiana. It's been raining. Oh my gosh, I saw an old man building an ark and putting animals on it. Not really, but it felt like that. Floods everywhere. Streets around my neighborhood were closed. And poor Lake Charles, those people, they get hit left and right with everything. So first article, this is a Fox News article. Flood threats turn deadly for states along Gulf Coast. And I've got this picture I'm going to put up here of Baton Rouge. And let me show you this one of Lake Charles. Okay, so I've got a couple of pictures that I get from Fox News. And let's see, Julia Musto is the author here. So real good article just explaining the impact of these widespread floods. Louisiana's flat. It is flat. So when it rains, the water goes everywhere. There's been water in my own neighborhood. Like I said, roads blocked. I've had to drive through a flooded road at one area. So it tends to isolate people. So we talk about why we prep. Hey, if it's raining and the floods are rising, you may have to evacuate. It's good to already have a plan. Speaking of, here's an article. Evacuations lifted in Louisiana dam failure. So a dam had failed in Louisiana. Evacuations had been ordered. So again, the dam collapse, water's coming. Do you got time to sit there and figure out what you're going to do? No, you probably don't. But if you already have a plan and you already have things set aside, you could just grab your go bag, grab it for the family. You know where you're going. You've got a plan. You've got a backup plan and an alternate to the backup plan. If you have that, it's so much less stress for you. This is why we prep. And this is one of those great talking points when we talk to other people. We look at this and say, oh gosh, Ma, you remember we had to evacuate and we didn't know what to do? Well, you can find a way to make that relate to an individual specifically. But in the general sense, we need to look for these type of stories to share with people that we care about. Because keep in mind, you've heard me say this before, you'll hear me say it again. The more of us that prep, the less of a burden it is on us and on our civil society. It's better for us to have more people prepping. It's better for our country and our community to have more people prepping. So it is a good civil service for you, for me, to try to encourage people to at least have 3-day go bag and have plans and all that. Just like our hurricane plan. It's hurricane season. Oh my gosh, there's already a storm. And you know what? It's not even on my list to cover today. But there's already a storm. It's not even June. And it started early. So if you're not prepared, if you don't have a plan, follow this link. We do have a video explaining on what a hurricane kit, on what a hurricane plan looks like. So yeah, follow that link and that'll help you get set up. Okay, so not even hurricane season. And there's a storm out in the Atlantic, I think Anna or something like that. So evacuations due to a dam failure. All right, let's go across the pond into Greece. Greece evacuates more villages as forest fire spreads to Attica region. more evacuations, more forest fires. So we're not just talking the U.S. Evacuations could happen anywhere. And I've got this other one. USGS raises volcano alert with explosion signals detected. This is off of Alaska. However, I also read today there was a volcano, where? Central America, South America? Somewhere. A couple of things with volcanoes. Just a thought. I want you guys to think about this. In addition to the immediate issue, the Mount St. Helens blows up, Mount Pinatubo, okay? Think about what a big volcano does. Spews ashes into the atmosphere. And what does that do, if it's big enough, what does that do to crop production? Can we say famine? Can we say poor crop yields? Crop failures? You get a big enough one, and they have happened multiple times. You get a big enough one, volcano, and even though you're nowhere near it, those volcanoes can impact the quantity of food that's available out there. Could lead to food price shortages. So just a thought, although I don't think either one of these two are expected to be of that magnitude, just something for us to keep an eye on. Volcanoes can have a global impact. All right, so those are several different events that happened in the last week, and all of those indicate why it's important for us, why it's important for our friends, our families, to be ready, to bug out, to evacuate. I keep hearing on these forums, I'm not bugging out, I'm going to stay and defend the homestead. Against what? The flood? The waters are rushing towards your house. Stand tall, buddy. Stand tall. Gird your loins. Because it's not going to matter if it's a flood. It's not going to matter if it's a forest fire. Get your garden hose out. Come on, people. Be real. There are times where we may have to leave our house. And yes, as I've said before, I'm a bug-in guy. I plan to stay at wherever I'm at, as long as possible. But there are times where we have to have a plan to leave. So a well-rounded person, a person with a well-rounded plan, is a person who is going to have a plan to bug out as well as bug in. So we've got videos on this that help you develop those plans. So I've got a link up here for risk assessment. You want to understand what your risks are, whether they're floods, whether they're forest fires. It's important that we understand our risks. So here's a link to our video, 5 first steps to prepping. And we'll follow that with a link to the 6 levels of preparedness, which will help a person build their levels of capabilities. So that's what we do here. We help people to come up with good plans, good scenarios for things like this. We can't anticipate everything, but by having plans, we can adapt those plans easier than someone can create a plan when they have got nothing. So, wow, a bunch of things happened that caused people to evacuate in various places across the planet. All right, so that's the first thing in this week. Like I said, crazy week, so much going on. I had so much good stuff that I decided not to talk about because I just want to keep these somewhat short. Let me talk about the next item here. And this is a concern, should be a concern for everyone. This has to do more with the direction of the country. This has to do more with where we are today, and like I said, where we're going. First one, Breitbart survey, 43% of millennials don't know, don't care, or don't believe that God exists. That's just, first, it's amazingly sad. It's really sad. They just don't care. They are so focused on themselves, on their lives, on whatever it is, that they can't see God. And if they can't see God, they can't see the issues of morality that God brings. So here's the thing. And for you guys that are not Christians, not believers, just hang on here. Don't get your shorts all twisted. Let me share this with you. Even if you're not a believer, you're going to have to agree. I think you will. If a person believes and acknowledges that there's a creator in heaven and that person, that God, will judge them at some point, that creates a type of restraint on a person's behavior. And I know some people will sit there and say, what about this person? What about that person? Okay, you can always talk about the exceptions. I'm talking about the norm. People who are Christians, and I'm sure other religions, but I'm a Christian, and this is talking about America, so mostly we're talking Christians and Jews too. But someone who's a Christian will regulate their own behavior to a point. And when you have a whole generation that doesn't know, care, or believe that God exists, that internal mechanism of self-regulation disappears. That's just a fact of human studies. It's a fact. And that should scare people. That if there's no self-regulation and other things take priority, like, that's what hedonism is about. I focus on my self-pleasure. So that's one thing, that survey, and it shows, if I scroll down here, according to the survey, millennials are far more likely than other generations to define success in life as happiness, personal freedom, productivity without oppression. They consider an abortion performed to reduce your personal, economic, or emotional discomfort to be morally acceptable. Premarital sex with someone is expected to be their future spouse to be morally acceptable. They deem reincarnation a real possibility. They tend to be liberal regarding fiscal and social policies. They tend to champion liberal theology. They tend to be among the don'ts, people who don't they don't know if God exists, don't believe, and don't care. That, when they become the predominant age group, is a very different America than the one I grew up in. So, along those lines, another story. This one's pretty sad. Mother savagely beaten as bystanders with phones do absolutely nothing to help her. This is in Georgia at a Little Caesars Pizza, and people just watched. And it says that, she was dragged by the hair, repeatedly bashed her head before dragging her outside the restaurant. People took videos. Yeah, really pretty sad. Now, here's the thing. I've actually had something similar, not the same, but similar, happen with me. No, I didn't beat anybody like that. I was driving home from work. This was California, out in the high desert. And traffic is stopped on this road that runs through the desert. There's nothing out there. And this guy had been walking on this highway. It's like a 10-mile stretch of nothing. This guy had been walking on the highway, and somehow he got hit by this 18-wheeler. And he was laying on the double yellow line, 10 o'clock at night. It's dark. You can see because of some headlights. And I get out there, and there's already a bunch of people there. And I pull up, and everyone's out there, and they're on their phones. Some have filmed. Everyone's talking. Nobody's helping this poor man. Nobody. They're all standing around watching. And I get there. I'm in shock that nobody's helping. I grab my medical kit that I keep in my vehicle and jump over to help. And now, I assume you got a dozen people on their phones, and they're all talking to somebody. Who would you think they're all talking to? I know who I thought they were talking to. I thought they were all talking to 911. I mean, who else would you be talking to when there's a guy who got hit by an 18-wheeler going 55 miles an hour? Who else would you be talking to? They're talking to 911, right? Of course they are, sure. So, following my Red Cross training, I turn to the nearest person, and I point to her, and I say, you call 911. You know what she says? She says, I gotta go. This guy wants me to call 911. Oh my gosh, I wanted to slap her. What do you mean I got to go? You weren't already talking to 911? Unbelievable. Same kind of thing. There's a bunch of people, they're all spectators in life. They can't bother themselves to help this guy. He didn't make it, by the way. But they're all standing around. I don't know how long he was out there laying on the ground. And finally, when I pointed to someone and said, you call 911, she called 911. No one else had called 911 at that point. Amazing, absolutely amazing. But you're going to see more and more and more of that. Because people do not have an obligation to a higher being. They do not have an obligation to God. Their only obligation is to themselves. And that's a bad place to be. So anyway, those are a couple of news stories. I do have a couple others. I want to talk about inflation. And I want to talk about the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. And I want to talk about, I'm going to go there. I am going to go there. COVID. Okay? But because of what I need to say on these, I can't do that on this forum. So just like last week, please join me over on our Patreon site, Strategic Prepper, for the rest of this discussion. So have a great week. I will have an update next week. Also, we have a great video coming out Thursday. You're going to want to see this. We're looking at water systems for emergency preparedness. Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. You are going to want to see this. We also have a couple others in the pipeline. We finished a video on different knives and how to select the right knife. That'll be coming up mid-June or like June 10th, something like that. So that's already done. It's a great video. Gilt Jr. did a fantastic job on that. Okay, so follow us on our Patreon site. Check out our website, strategic-prepper.com. And please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. And leave any comments. If you've got other feedback on these topics, leave a comment down below. We appreciate you taking the time to sit through the news report with us and joining us with the conversations. And stay safe and stay prepared.